Okay, we are here to. Oh, hi. Let me introduce myself. Hi everybody. My name is Manti. I'm the little board game VTuber that streams different types of games, mostly visual novels, mostly gotcha games. I'm starting a brand new game today, and if you can hear it in my voice, I am a little ill. I'm a little sick today. You can tell I'm sick because I am not someone who likes sports. I'm not a very sporty person, but today I watched the whole entire first season of Ted Lasso because one of my coworkers said, "Hey, you should watch Ted Lasso." And me, in my ill delusion, was like, "Yeah, okay." And then I dropped everything else I was watching for basically the whole day today. And I just watched all of Ted Lasso season 1. I was couch ridden. But now I am back and I am here and we are streaming. And I'm going to figure out if I can stream this with a controller. I might have to use a mouse. This might be a mouse game. Also, why can I see my little window bar on the bottom? I guess my overlay kind of hides it, so that's not too bad. I see. Okay. English. I would love to play this game in English. Let's go. I was recommended to play Hira Hira Hihiru by Black Blue, one of my beloved um, watchers and Discord users and subscribers. And so I value their opinion very, very much. We're going to do a new game today. How high is my volume actually right now? Let's lower it because I need to hear myself think. At the front of the room stood an altar and a coffin holding the body of the deceased. Oh, fuck. We're one line in and somebody's already died? I'm gonna need a fucking drink. Hold on, guys. I'll be right back for a second. I'm gonna be right back. Alright. I'm back. Somebody died. Let's fucking do this shit. Alright, everyone. At the front of the room stood an altar and a coffin holding the body of the deceased. It is just click to continue. Wait. Where did all the words go? Okay, well, I'm gonna need this menu to be up so I can see the words. Pale smoke drifted up from the sticks of incense that had been placed by the bereaved in offering. A priest was reciting a sutra, punctuating his chanting with sounds from his instrument. The family, clad in white attire, were sat in a row by the altar. They offered their thanks to each guest who went up to burn incense at the stand placed on the elevated platform. The man who looked to be chief mourner was sat at the end of the row, legs bent politely beneath him. His gaze tended downward, making his upper body sway like a willow branch. All color had drained from his pallid skin, making it appear like he might collapse at any moment. Perhaps having taken note of this man's sickly state, a young man in a black school uniform quietly passed behind the row of sitting family members and crouched behind the chief mourner. No, you're not late. Have you played this game before? I assume that you have because you told me to play the game. I literally just started. I just started it. They said, "Oh, there's a coffin in the room or a casket. There's somebody dead." And then it's everybody observing the dead body and like conducting the funeral. Oh, okay. Yeah, oh, so it's full visual novel. Fantastic. Yeah, no, I literally just started. Your perfect timing. He whispered something into his ear, perhaps telling the older man that he should rest. But the chief mourner did not budge. With nothing else to say. Ah, hydrate! Thank you for the hydrate. I got my trusty dew right here. Ah, thank you for the hydrate. We must be hydrated. Okay, back to the story. But the chief mourner did not budge. With nothing else to say such a refusal, the young man simply took a seat behind him. The head priest continued to recite the sutra in a clear, sonorous voice. Ooh, new vocab for me. Occasionally he would pick up two hand cymbals, lightly strike them, before stifling the clear ringing sound by rubbing the instruments together. There was a brazier? A brazier? Like the little bralette? Okay, that's another word I don't know. Why are you making me play these high intellectual games? Did you not know I'm a stupid bitch? Okay, we continue. There was a brazier in the room, but since the doors were left open for the guests, it was no warmer inside than out. Each time the wind came blowing in, the tips of the incense sticks would burn bright red and send a trail of white smoke wafting through the room. It was then that the chief mourner shifted himself, turning to face the young man in the school uniform directly behind him. That's what I was like. Wait, who left their bra in the funeral? Whoa, we should have picked that up, man. The pastor's getting freaky when no one's looking. From his pocket, he produced a small drawstring pouch, which he held out to the young man. As the realization set in, a look of surprise bordering on distress spread across the young man's face. Eyes clenched with grief, he took the pouch. As soon as he realized his eyes were blotting with wet, glistening sorrow, the young man cast his gaze downward to hide it. He bit his lip and creased his brow, as if fighting hard to rid himself of the sudden flood of emotions. A gust of wind rushed into the room. The candles standing at either side of the altar were snuffed, leaving only wisps of pale smoke. Oh, this is fun. This is so eerie. This definitely reminds me of when I used to tour the country doing Edgar Allan Poe monologues. Um, that was so much fun. But yeah, it was like in a lot of theater, you're interacting with another person and you're bouncing stuff off of them. But when I was doing the Poe monologues, they were so bleak and so dreary. I did another show called Haunted Tavern where we would tell ghost stories, but it's like literally just you in the dark up there telling these stories. Um, yeah, when you do theater for work, you do end up doing really weird gigs. That gig was we would do 90-minute shows, and within those 90-minute shows it would be like four four different Edgar Allan Poe monologues. So your monologue lasted about 15 minutes, and then there was like brief little breaks in between each monologue. um I used to do The Raven, I did Red Death, and I did The Pale Blue Eye. What is that poem? um is it called The Pale Blue Eye? No, it's called, yeah, maybe. I forgot it actually, but I used to do those three. The one that I did the most though was Raven and Crimson Death, or Red Death. Okay, anyway, back to this. Then, just as a man from among family members stood up and reached for the matchbox to relight the candles, it happened. No, I can't you hear it in my voice? I'm so sick right now. I think I told this story right before you joined chat, but um I've been so sick between today or yesterday and today. I like have this cold, and I know I was like I'm I'm still going to the pool even though I'm sick. There's nothing more relaxing than a pool. This will help me heal. So I went to the pool yesterday even though I was sick. And I was sick today, and you can tell I'm so sick because I do not like sports. But my coworker said, "Hey, you should watch Ted Lasso." And I said, in my delirious sick brain, "Yeah, okay." I finished the whole first season. I finished the whole thing. So, yeah. But yeah, anyway, I watched a whole show all about soccer today, which isn't even anime. It's not even anime. It's not even Blue Lock. What the fuck was I thinking? Anyway, from the coffin came a brief sound, a faint shaking sound. The chief mourner and the young man who were right by the coffin were the only ones who looked up at that truly soft noise. Unperturbed, the man who'd picked up the matchbox tried to grab a match from inside. The head priest's melodic chanting continued on unchanged. The other relatives only had eyes for the guest giving their condolences at the incense stand. Neither the man holding the match, nor the head priest absorbed in his chanting, nor the other family members had noticed the sound. But the chief mourner and the young man were staring at the coffin with tense expressions. Oh my god, are they coming back? Zombie? Zombie arc? It was a fine, unvarnished coffin with a beautiful wood grain. Click. And underneath their unbroken gaze, a rattling sound erupted from the coffin once more. The noise was louder this time. The man stopped trying to strike the match, and the head priest stopped his chanting to actually look at the coffin in front of him. Though the room was now smothered by silence, the rattling noise pressed on. Before long, it was obvious to everyone what was happening. The coffin's lid was moving, right before the very eyes of all those gathered there. The coffin's lid shifted, little by little, accompanied by the noise of wood scraping wood. Something inside was trying to push the lid open to get out. And there was little question as to what might be within the coffin at a funeral. The coffin's lid was pushed to the side, and out from the gap appeared 4 thin white fingers. I love this sound effect! Yeah! A middle-aged woman sitting by the wall let out a scream. The next moment, the coffin lurched up on one side, then tumbled off its stand. When it did, all the adornments placed in front of the coffin came crashing down with an enormous clatter. Jumping out of the way in surprise, the head priest landed on his backside atop the tatami floor, where the priest had stood just moments earlier, now laid the coffin on its side, and the deceased within had tumbled out onto the center of the room. The body, dressed in white, had fallen face down onto the floor in the middle of the assembled family and guests. Messy hair sprawled out atop the tatami. Her hair was pure white, like threads of silk. But the surprising thing was, though her hair was as white as fallen snow, the girl wasn't old at all. The skin on the thin, pale legs protruding from her white clothes didn't sag at all, and the back of her neck, now exposed, was smooth and clear without so much as a wrinkle. It looked every bit like the body of a teenage girl. She twisted her body about and struck both hands against the tatami floor in an attempt to lift herself up, but she didn't have the strength to raise her body. Hello, NSM, welcome. We're playing Hira Hira Hihiru, which is a game that I know absolutely nothing about. I love going into things blind. So far, there was somebody who was dead. They are no longer dead. Now they are alive and also young. Okay. A small voice barely escaped from the girl's mouth. She tried to put more force into elevating herself, but only succeeded in making her elbows quiver, unable to get herself up. I'm having a great time so far. I'm really enjoying it. All 10 minutes that I've played so far, which honestly should have been 3 minutes, but I talk a lot. Now prone again, the only thing she could manage was to lift her head. In front of her was that young man in the school uniform. Dressed all in black, he provided a stark contrast to the crowd of family members in white attire around him. The young man was so startled he could do nothing but return the girl's stare while frozen in place. The eyes that peeked out from between the strands of hair were bright, full of light, and intensely focused on the young man in front of her. Their gazes remained interlocked for a time before the girl looked back down and attempted to put her strength into both arms again. Her elbows shook even more violently than before. With a tremendous yell, the girl's body managed to raise herself up just a bit, but almost immediately, her strength left her and she dropped back down with a thud. There she remained, limply, her breath turned to ragged gasping as she laid flat on the floor. It's a Hihiru! One of the family shouted out. Does Hihiru mean zombie? Am I learning this right now? Masamitsu's story, Chapter 1, Aerodama Patients are People. Pale winter sunlight filters in through the window. A stove sits at one end of the classroom, warming the frigid air. The coal burning inside gleams like molten lava. With the heat comes an irresistible desire for slumber. My eyelids cling to each other as though they've been glued shut. I furrow my brow and force them apart. Light floods into my open eyes. I don't sleep much these days. I was on night duty last night, meaning I had to remain at the hospital and be ready to respond to any emergencies. If nothing happened, I would have been allowed to sleep through the night. But such uneventful shifts are rare. This past evening was no exception. As soon as I managed to drift off to my much-needed sleep, I was notified that a patient had collapsed in the private hospital. After attending to that, I returned to the night duty room and laid down on the futon, only to have a nurse come looking for me as I was nodding off. This time, the crisis was a patient in one of the isolation units having an outburst. And that's how I spent my night, with little chance for rest. When morning arrived, I came here to observe the lecture. At the podium stands a man with a long nose and a sharp gaze. His face brings to mind that of an eagle. Sam Eagle. What a good Muppet. His name is Dr. Sam Eagle, aka Shuhei Katori. Currently the most well-respected academic in the country, he gives 2 lectures a week, one clinical, one theoretical. Today's class is the former. His classes were popular back in my own school days, and it seems his favor has not faded. Though the classroom isn't big, managing to fill every seat with a topic like this is no small feat. As thrilled as I am to see this many people attending a lecture about the typically unpopular subject of aerodemia, I wonder how many of the audience will go into the field after they graduate. I suspect many of them are only here for the chance to witness the spectacle, to satiate their curiosity with the hair-raising sight that awaits. Most of the students here are enrolled in medical school, but there are some humanities students mixed in as well. Aerodema students must be available as an elective to students of philosophy and psychology. Aerodema studies must be available as an elective to those students. Watching them, I get the impression that the humanities students are more enthusiastic about the lecture. One might assume that this is because they chose to take this course of their own accord. But I dare say it's because there's much overlap between aerodema and the fields of philosophy and psychology. In any case, all the students appear to be rather restless, likely due to the fact that today an actual patient will be visiting the class. While it is possible to come upon victims of aerodema, are they ever going to tell us what aerodema is? What the fuck is aerodema? Aero means flight, dema like academy, dame, flight study. But victims of aerodema? Now it sounds like a disease. On the streets with those serious symptoms are rarely seen as they tend to avoid the outdoors. Continuing to fight the pull of sleep, I listened to Dr. Katori's lecture. As you all know, victims of this disease were once called pejoratives as rotten or hihiru. They were not considered human, but counted among the ranks of monsters and evil spirits. It was only very recently that aerodema was recognized as a disease, as something that could be treated medically. Can you tell I do anime dubbing the way my voice hit the timing of that perfectly? Started when his started, ended when his started. Dr. Katori speaks in a solemn tone. Aerodema is a disease unlike any other. It causes the dead to rise from their coffins during their own funerals. It causes the buried to cry for release from their own graves. But its victims, whose corpses regain mobility, are no longer what they were before, neither in body nor in spirit. Their flesh rots as their metabolism declines, taking on a foul odor. They speak to things no others can see. Oh, this is a fun plot line. I'm very excited for this story. He clears his throat, then continues. In ancient times, it was believed that victims of aerodema had been occupied by gods or natural spirits, and so they were revered as holy beings. However, as time went on, public opinion shifted. The spirits possessing them were seen as inferior creatures such as ghosts or animal spirits, and they began to be treated as outcasts. In fact, it was recently discovered that the slur Hihiru— oh, Hihiru's a slur? I've been saying it this whole time and nobody's gonna tell me? Which is used here in Japan, did not originally have negative connotations. It can be traced back to the era in which they were still respected, though there are none today who use it in its original context, of course. The doctor projects his voice like a trained actor. The students are silent, giving him their rapt attention. This history is not unique to Japan. You will encounter the same narrative all over the world. You see, humans are a superstitious species by nature. In the vast majority of languages, the name given to erythema victims means something along the lines of the living dead. That said, the believed cause of this disease varied by region. For instance, in a country where demons are commonly feared, it was said to be the work of demons. In another, where belief in magic is widespread, it was said to be the result of a curse. There is even one region in where victims called bugs, because after rotting, their bodies appeared to be swarmed by flies. In every corner of the globe, the afflicted were not welcomed into society, but shunned. It was not uncommon for them to be killed as soon as they began to show symptoms. Hello! I'm doing good. I'm a little sick. You can still hear it in my voice. The story so far, everything that you've missed, is we were at a funeral. Whatever was in the coffin began to open, and then a teenage girl with white hair crawled out, but she was so weak she couldn't lift herself off the ground. They called her Hihiru, and now we've jumped to a different spot in time. It might be a parallel time, it might be before, after, I don't know. But now we are in an academic lecture, and there is a professor standing in front of us teaching us about Hihirus. Dr. Katori pauses to pour water from a pitcher into a glass. He wets his throat and carries on. That's my sign to wet my throat and carry on. But we must end this era of superstition. Now, erythema is treated as a matter of medicine rather than one of religion. The phenomenon of people returning to life after death is now understood to be reawakening after a brief, death-like state. The belief that the afflicted could communicate with spirits has been explained as a mental disorder that causes them to hallucinate. Their flesh does not rot because their bodies are dead, but because of a regenerative dysfunction causing their tissue to decay. None of this is due to spirits or demons or once past sins. Believing in such things has done nothing but keep us in ignorance, loathing these unfortunate victims as monsters for centuries. The scariest thing about erythema is how we, as a society, have failed the afflicted. Oh, I'm glad you're feeling better. An angry scowl appears on his face as he surveys his audience, as though the one responsible for this injustice is in this very room. As members of the human race, it is our duty to reflect on our past mistakes and work to ensure all victims of erythema receive the aid they deserve. We must not allow our country to fall behind in this regard. Regrettably, as it stands, public acceptance of the afflicted is terribly low in Japan. Most continue to see them as monsters, and even many among the educated see no issue with speaking ill of them as though they were creatures from a fairy tale. Nothing has changed since the Middle Ages. That said, what I am here to share with you is in line with global standards, coming from the newest, most up-to-date research. In other words, when you leave this classroom today, each of you will have knowledge and understanding beyond that of most so-called intellectuals in this country. I hope you will all pay close attention. I have heard this preamble many times before, while I was a student myself. It's almost comforting to hear it again now. Dr. Katori takes another drink of water before diving into the heart of his lecture. This being a clinical lecture, he explains in thorough detail, gestures and all, how he examines a patient with erythema. He speaks without pause, his voice rising and falling to match the emotions behind his rhetoric. Simply listening to him makes it feel as though the scene is unfolding before our very eyes. With each dramatic movement, his long hair sways behind him. This orator-like speaking skill is the secret behind the popularity of Dr. Katori's lectures. He shares his account of a raging patient who could not be sedated no matter what medicine they tried, and from his mouth it sounds like an amusing anecdote. There is something I could never do. This is something I could never do. Though I have stood behind many a podium, I have never had a way with words like this. Idle jealousy creeps into my drowsy mind as I watch the doctor perform. But I wonder, when will the patient be revealed? I admit, I did not come here only to hear Dr. Katori speak. I'm here to observe my patient. For the erythema. For the erythema victim the doctor has promised to introduce to the students is a patient of mine. My lethargy and fatigue are growing worse, and my impatience all the more. But then, the moment finally arrives. Now, allow me to introduce you to a real patient. Dr. Katori claps his hands once. On cue, Nurse Suzuki enters the classroom, leading the patient in by the hand. At a mere 25 years of age, Nurse Suzuki is young, with broad shoulders and a muscular build. His strength is particularly helpful when a patient becomes manic, but this one seems calm enough that it won't be needed today. The patient, who we refer to as Osan, enters slowly, his frail frame bent over itself. Whoa! Whoa! Freaky guy! A gasp ripples across the audience. He's ugly! See, this is what I'm talking about. You guys are fucking mean assholes. Osan's skin is inflamed from head to toe, looking as though it's covered in severe burns. Its surface is brown with decay. His eyelids have been stripped away, leaving his eyeballs almost completely bare. He has to move his entire brow simply to blink, contorting his face into a fearsome scowl each time. Even his lips are crumbling away, no longer capable of hiding his white teeth. This figure, at least his teeth are white, he's got great dental hygiene. This figure, wrapped in a cotton hospital gown, shuffles into the room. At a glance, one might think him a mummy or a rotting corpse. No, I don't think there's any gameplay to this. I think it's very much just a visual novel, which is great for me because I love read a story. Yeah, he's like, my teeth, my pearly whites are my pride and joy. Have y'all ever heard of Colgate? A patient with such advanced symptoms is rare these days, now that we have the means to slow the disease's progress. Of the nearly 450 patients in this hospital, few are in as bad condition as this, and of those who are, most are bedridden. This is perhaps the only patient we have who is so severely afflicted, yet strong enough to walk on their own. His movements are dreadfully slow, of course, his feet dragging on the floor as he walks. Still, he makes his way to the podium on his own. He stands beside Dr. Katori, head hung low, and faces the students. God, here's like your dreadful would you rather. If you had a god-awful disease that made you seem like a quote-unquote freak to other people, would you rather be put on display like a circus act and tour around and like be introduced by some random guy, but at the same time actually educate the populace on the disease and maybe open up people's minds to what you're going through and other people like you are going through? Or would you not fucking do this because this is goddamn embarrassing and weird and objectifying, but then nobody knows about your disease and it's really, really hard to spread awareness? I don't know. I don't know. I think about that all the time. I'm like, God, if you're going through something that's truly, truly rare, but also fucking awful, like, so many times people want you to speak out about it constantly or, like, put you on display. Like, think about every conjoined twin you've ever heard of. They have to basically become celebrities just because of how they were born. It's weird. Yeah. Um, I think it's a great and noble thing to do, but also I'm like, I don't want to know. I would actually rather be known for who I am rather than how I look, you know? Anyway, um, although Osan is about the same in stature as the Doctor, who himself has more of a Western build than a Japanese one, his body is folded into a deep bow. He holds the pose for a long while, the students watching him with bated breath. His bowed head reveals that his scalp has rotted away, exposing the white of his skull to the open air. Oh, that's freaky. Hydrate! No, that's because you hear me coughing. Coughing. Like dead people coughing, pun intended. Anyway, thank you for the hydrate. I will keep hydrated. Although I think I am just coughing because I'm sick. So, mayhaps, please take care of yourself. Yes, yes, Black Blue. I will take care of myself. Thank you for the check-in. Somebody, I don't know if you saw the tweet, but somebody was like, every time you give a streamer a hydrate, it's like you're watering a pet. It's like, here, I have to, or like a Tamagotchi, I have to take care of my streamer. And I was like, oh, Jesus Christ. So now every time I get a hydrate, I'm like, I simply am a Tamagotchi, am I not? He bowed his head. His bowed head reveals his scalp, his bones out. You need so much hydrate today, you will die because of all the reading. I am strong. Do not underestimate me. This is not due to erythema, but the result of a treatment called moxibustion he underwent in his youth. Oh, so they're paralleling it to, like, cancer when you're losing your hair because of the chemotherapy, not because of the cancer. Okay. A traditional healing therapy involving burning dried mugwort leaves on one's skin. Back then it was believed to be effective against erythema, thus his father put a large lump of mugwort on his head and lit it aflame. His father deserves to bear the blame, of course. Oh my god, maybe not a chemotherapy parallel, because my god, this is actually... I mean, I guess his father was trying to help him, but like... It's so fucked up when you think that you're healing somebody and you're actually hurting them. Like the stuff with Mercury back in the day or whatever, where everyone was like, this is great, this is fine. And then all the studies, this was not great. This was not fine. We should have not have been healing people with hard drugs. His father deserves to bear the blame, of course, but Osan is the one who sat quietly as the flesh of his head burned. His father deserves to bear... such thick-headedness is also a symptom of erythema. No way! No way they said, this dude is stupid and stubborn because of his disease. Horrible as it is. I once questioned him about it. I asked whether any sort of instinctual response came to mind when he saw the flame being lit upon his head. Did he not feel panic? Did he not think to put it out? I was entranced by the smoke. It rose to the ceiling in such thick, black clouds. I thought of nothing else. He shrugged simply as he gave me his answer. This may be the most carefree creature I've ever met, I thought, and nearly laughed. Then, remembering that his brain was nearly boiled in his skull, found myself unable to eke out a single chuckle. Eek. Okay. Thank you for agreeing to participate in my lecture today. Your assistance today will help deepen the knowledge of these promising young students, thereby alleviating the suffering that future victims of erythema will have to endure. After introducing Osan to the students, Dr. Katori thanks him in his usual dramatic tones. I see. I am pleased to hear that. Osan's reply is vague, delivered in a dazed tone. It is unclear how much of this situation he understands. Nevertheless, his response caused a mild commotion among the students. It seems that they are surprised that a patient with such advanced erythema is able to speak, let alone have a conversation. It can talk? One person says. He must be receiving some special treatments at the hospital, another whispers. I find myself surprised at their surprise, taken aback by how little they know. But I suppose it's natural for those who have little contact with the afflicted. Surmising the cause for the students' chatter, Dr. Kotori glares at the audience. Your surprise only proves how ill-informed the world is about the victims of erythema. His sharp words restore silence to the lecture hall. Some erythema patients do in fact lose their faculties for speech, but those who are strong enough to walk, even if their skin condition is extreme, are generally able to hold a conversation. The reason most victims you see tend to keep silent, including those who often have less pronounced symptoms, is to avoid being ridiculed, as the disease often makes them say things that the unafflicted would consider strange. They adopt mutism as a defense mechanism. Oh. The writing and the world building in this are so good. Like, the doctor's speaking grows more animated. What you must first understand is that they are every bit as human as we are. Regardless how different their appearance, they still have a heart. They still have a soul. Those whose condition is less severe are fully capable of communicating their thoughts. It may be true that our friend here is lucky to suffer only a few mental ailments, but even patients worse off than him, say those who suffer from hallucinations and ramble incoherently, or those who spread their feces across their bodies, are still, at their core, no different from you and I. These people who endure being treated like beasts, being called rotten, being called Hihiru. Every one of them has a father, has a mother, has siblings, has a life. They are individuals worthy of respect. You can study all the theories you want, collect all the information you can find, but until you respect them as human beings from the bottom of your heart, you have no hope of ever understanding this disease. That is the one thing I want you all to take away from my class today. A tear rolls down Dr. Kotori's cheek as he brings his speech to a close. Oh man, you can already tell that Dr. Kotori had somebody really, really close to him turn into a Hihiru. You can already tell that this man's got such a deep, layered backstory. Silence overtakes the room. Hello, welcome. This is Hira Hira Hihiru. The game so far, and I don't know any spoilers, so I don't know any about the grandiose plot or overarching story. Well, all I know is that we are learning about something called erythema, a disease that afflicts humans. It makes their skin begin to deteriorate. It makes their minds begin to, I guess, deteriorate as well, like get scrambled up. So they say things that they wouldn't otherwise say, and their body is kind of rotting from the outside in. We don't know much else beyond that. We are, the narrator, who quote unquote we are, is a doctor at this facility. The zombie in front of us, or the Hihiru, is one of his patients, and this professor is somebody that who we are looks up to. That is everything I know. I confess I'm not partial to the doctor's methods. As eloquent as he was, making an impassioned appeal to emotion makes this no different from a carnival freak show. That's what I'm saying! That's what I'm fucking saying. A small, dark tent in which the showman promises his audience a glimpse of the most pitiful beast in all the world. He spins for them a sensational yarn about the creature's tragic life, bringing tears to his own eyes. Once he's captured their curiosity, he lifts the curtain, presenting the oddity in all its hideous glory. Is that not what we just witnessed here? Osan was no more than a spectacle put on display. While I do have the utmost respect for Dr. Katori, I have nothing but distaste for his dramatics. Of course, I understand that he is aware of all that, and that his choice to dramatize his lectures is to capture the students' interest is the correct one. After all, it is an effective way to achieve the ultimate purpose of these classes. Still, it makes me uncomfortable. I cannot say that I fully believe in the doctor. From time to time, I find myself unsure of his true intention. Okay, so maybe the doctor's not someone he looks up to. He did say before that he admired his public speaking skills, but maybe I was a little presumptuous in saying that he looked up to him as like a mentor figure. This is, I guess, one of his peers, a co-worker of sorts. Oh no, I swallowed water wrong. I'm gonna fucking die. I'm sorry, you guys. Oh, maybe I'm not gonna die. Actually, I'm okay. I'm chilling. Osan is standing in front of the classroom staring into space, altogether unaware of why he is here. Quick, swallow more water. Done. I have been studying his expression closely. He's been stable as of late, but that's all the more reason to not be careless. His mental condition is generally steady, but about once a month he becomes terribly unhinged. Me too, guy, me too. Last month he had to be put in the isolation unit 3 times. This is the first time he's participated in one of Dr. Katori's lectures. Come to think of it, when was the last time he saw anyone who was not another patient or someone working in the hospital? He's allowed to leave the hospital freely, but he prefers not to. At most, he leaves once every few months and merely walks around the hospital grounds for a few minutes. Other than that, he's constantly in his ward. Although he has been brought here as an example of how calm Aerodama patients can be, the fact remains that he is a patient with a serious condition who must be treated with care. Not even I could predict how he might react to being paraded before a room full of students. The doctor dismissed my concerns, saying that that's like when they use the term high functioning for like autism or BPD or what, any sort of like mental neurodivergence. They're always like, oh, this person's high functioning, whatever. It's like, yeah, they can still have a breakdown. They can still have a panic attack and freak out. They can still like demonstrate traits of their condition that they literally have. Anyway, I don't like the term high functioning. It seems Osan has not noticed me sitting in the back of the classroom. He is absent-mindedly staring at the students, answering only about half of Dr. Katori's questions. This is not due to any discomfort for being in an unfamiliar situation. It is simply his usual disposition. He appears neither nervous nor afraid. If things carry on like this, there should be no issue. The lecture continues with Osan speaking about himself in his listless tone, as well as interacting with the students directly. Exactly, Black Blue, exactly. The lecture continues, blah, blah, blah. Having lived half of his life with a terrible disease, he has no shortage of gruesome anecdotes to share. The students appear to be deeply moved, some heaving heavy sighs, others holding their heads in their hands. He has shown no signs of breaking down, so it seems my fears will not come to pass. Once his part has been played, Osan leaves the classroom. Stifling a yawn, I rise to my feet. The frigid January wind chills me to the bone the moment I step out the door. I turn up the collar of my lab coat and dig my hands deep into its pockets as I start to walk. The Imperial University Aerodama Research Department, where Dr. Katori teaches, is located in the Tokyo Kagamachi Hospital. A 2-meter-tall brick wall surrounds the sprawling grounds and its myriad buildings. The hospital is divided into discrete buildings according to the patients they house, separated by gender, condition, whether they're paying out of pocket through public funds, and so on. Beyond that, there is a quarantine for patients with infectious diseases, a variety of rooms for examinations and treatments, offices for management and administration, an elementary school for young patients, and even a barber shop. In addition to those used by patients, there are buildings designated for staff usage as well, filled with offices and night duty rooms for the doctors and rooms for nurses to sleep in. As they stay at the hospital unless they have time off, there are also facilities to provide all the things they might need from day to day. There are so many buildings on the hospital grounds that I could not give an exact number if asked. They are all connected by covered walkways so one can pass between them in comfort even on rainy days. That's like, I grew up in Minnesota. In Minneapolis and like northern cities, we had, at least in Minneapolis, we had sky bridges because it was so cold there. So, like, to connect the tall buildings together, you could just take a bridge from one building to the next. And then at my university, we had tunnels that went underground so that you wouldn't have to go out into the snow. You could just walk underground from one building to the next. It was really cool. However, the walkways do not provide the most direct path, so they go unused by most of the staff when the skies are clear, myself included. I cut across the sports field heading to the night duty room to retrieve something. Now that I've finally finished my work, which began last night, my exhaustion catches up to me. I hear a voice from afar. Come on, you can't be running around like that. I follow the commotion to see a nurse chasing a patient who has not a shred of clothing on. The nurse looks to be Nago-san, and the patient... Is that T-san? Refusing to wear clothing again, I see. T-san is fast. Although his flesh is somewhat decayed, his muscle tissue is still fully intact. Nurse Nago may be young and spry, but her uniform hinders her movement. No matter how hard she tries to run, her fluttering white skirt will not let her catch up to T-san. I wonder if the female staff members should wear trousers like their male counterparts. Though perhaps they would not find it comfortable. Stop! Stop, or I'll tell the doctor you have to be put in an isolation unit. Nurse Nago's words do not seem to reach T-san. A group of patients in the smoking area, some with rotting skin, others without, titter with high-pitched laughter as they watch the scene unfold. Such a sight might cause an uproar beyond these brick walls, but here it's an everyday occurrence. There is nowhere on the outside that erythema patients can gather like this, and the slightest atypical behavior would be met with glares, or worse. The stark contrast surprised even me when I first arrived. This is a different world entirely, where the grievances of the outside world have no bearing. The patients here have nothing to do with the economy or the recession following the emperor's recent passing, and likewise, it has no effect on them. I'm not sure if I noticed this last time I saw this game, but they don't seem to use patients' names, only initials. Yeah, I agree. It's like hospitals and students and confidentiality and stuff. Yeah, it has that aura. Still, I take issue with the isolation units being used as a threat, as though they were jail cells. Their purpose is simply to separate a patient who has lost control from the others and keep them safe. They're only meant to be used when it's deemed a medical necessity for one to be temporarily isolated, not as a form of punishment. I'll have to speak with Nurse Nago later. Oh, so he must hold, or he or she, whoever I am, must hold some status within the hospital. We'll see who's laughing when you catch a cold! With a deep sigh, Nago-san sinks to the ground. Despite her having given up the chase, T-san continues to run. Ahead of him, there are fields used for occupational therapy. As it is the dead of winter, nothing is growing there, but come spring, a group of patients and staff will sew them together. A few other staff members have noticed T-san running their way. They'll catch him, I'm sure. As I continue to walk forward, I see another nurse jogging toward me.
Chigusa-sensei, ちょうどよかった。
My cold. You're going to catch a cold. You're going to be just like me. Ah, Dr. Chigusa. I was just looking for you. A nurse in his 40s by the name of Matsuki comes to a halt before me. Is this what they wear? Or is this like the historically accurate nurse uniform in Japan? Because in my Western American interpretation, this dude's wearing a chef hat. This man looks like he can cook a mean steak.
今お時間いただけますか
Do you have a moment? One look at his expression is all I needed to know that my return home will be delayed once more.
どうしたの？
What is it?
宗男さんが不穏です
Oneo-san has become manic.
わかった。
I
行こう。
see. Let's go. My new destination is Isolation Unit number 2. On the way there, Nurse Matsuki fills me in on the incident. Oneo-san is a 45-year-old male patient. He was born into a wealthy family who runs a large kimono fabric shop. His first showed symptoms of erythema at the age of 18 and was hospitalized at 26. Since then, he's lived at the hospital, never once going home. Damn, that chef thick. Thank you, Streaming Delusion RXET29B. Wow, I love getting spambot comments. You are upping my comment stats, and I appreciate you. You make my analytics look great. In the past, his outbursts were violent and loud. However, despite his ongoing hallucinations, he has calmed down significantly since I began attending to him last year. His disposition turned gentle, and he's almost never caused problems since. Just last month, he was even able to go on excursion to a temple with some staff and fellow patients. But last week, his condition suddenly took a turn for the worse. He lashed out at some other patients and had to be sent to isolation unit. According to the nurse, Oneo-san had another outburst today, shouting and kicking at the walls and bars of his room.
なるほど。
Understood.
宗男さんに出した
I
問い
believe
はまだ
Oneo-san
残
still
ってる
had
ね。
some remaining singles.
注射器と
Please
一緒に
bring them to the
競争室に
isolation
持ってき
unit
てください。
along with a syringe. I'll head
僕
over
が
there
先に
now.
はい
Yes, doctor. There are two types of isolation facilities at this hospital. One is a quarantine station for patients who have contracted highly contagious diseases. As they might be kept physically separate from other patients, the building for the facility was erected far from any others. The other type is the isolation unit. Soundtracks? I can hear the wind blowing. I don't know if you guys can hear the wind, but on my side it's windy. As the second of four... Yay! Hydrate! Thank you for the hydrate. It is time to drink. Thank you. Now, let us see. The other type is the isolation unit. As the second of 4 to be built, this one is called unit number 2. They were established for patients who, due to the mental effects of erythema, cannot live among others in the hospital. For instance, those who hurt themselves or others, or those whose hallucinations are so extreme that they need to be cut off from external stimulation. Whatever the situation, if a doctor deems it necessary for a patient to be kept in a private room, they're sent here. The rooms inside are small and equipped with heavy bars. The building is made of the same reddish-brown brick that lines the outer perimeter of the hospital. Before it was dark and poorly ventilated with only a few small windows to provide light and air, but they were refurbished last year and have been much improved. It is now equipped with large windows, so the interior is well lit throughout and the restrooms were renovated to be much more sanitary. With the iron grills over the windows removed, the buildings look more like a European villa than anything else. Okay, so I am so used to playing murder mysteries and crime things that as they're telling me each of these things, I'm not reading this like I would be reading the descriptor in a book when I have to picture things myself. I'm reading it like, oh shit, I gotta remember about the windows in case they need to ask me how somebody escaped later. I need to remember these fine details in case I get asked about it later. And I know there's no gameplay, so like it's not gonna be a huge issue later. But my mind is so, look for the detail, look for the detail, look for the detail. But on closer inspection... Sorry, minor sickness. But on closer inspection, one can see that the exterior door is made of sturdier material than those of the other hospital wards, giving this structure of an oppressive aura. Yeah, literally, I'm just like, why are they telling me this? This must be important later. And then I have to chill and be like, not everything is foreshadowing. Maybe just sit the fuck down and chill the fuck out. Upon approaching the building, Oneo-san's screams come into hearing range. The doors of the isolation unit are built like Western doors, with a metal doorknob and a keyhole beneath it. Such locks are not manufactured in Japan, so the hospital had to specially purchase it from overseas to be installed here. The door is always locked, so only those with a key may... Like that, the door is always locked, so only those with a key may enter. Okay, well, we're gonna hear somebody at a key and be like, oh, you were the one that entered the thing. Anyway, I step into the building. On my left are a row of large windows, and on my right are the patient rooms, each furnished with metal bars. Isolation unit number 2 contains 8 rooms in total, of which 5 are currently occupied. There's 3 empty rooms, guys. 3 empty rooms. Uneo-san's room is the farthest back. I see 2 staff members waiting in front of it. I'll have to pass by several other patients' rooms on the way there. Oh, I hope they show us those patients. Dr. Chigusa, please shut that psycho up. I can't take it anymore. No sooner had I locked the door behind me than I was met with a complaint from S-san, the patient in the first room. I won't do a thing until you lose that tone. We're all in the same boat here. With a curt reply, I walk off. In the next room is a female patient, fast asleep, although it's barely midday. As I pass by the third room, I hear a yell followed by a loud slam. Y-san slams herself into the bars and watches me with fierce intensity. That's what I would do. If I was in there, I'd fucking treat it like a haunted house and jump at the nurses and the doctors and stuff. She is in her 20s and has stayed in an isolation unit since the day she was hospitalized due to her incessant hallucinations. Though she's still a young woman, her symptoms were left untreated for some time when they first set in. Her skin is decayed, making her eyes pop out of her inflamed face like those of a fish. Shota-sama! Shota-sama! Y-san is not one of my patients, so I don't interact with her. Yet for some reason, unbeknownst to me, she believes I'm her fiancé, Shota. Whenever she sees me walking past her room, she calls out to me like this. Help me! I can't take this. Everyone is so cruel to me. Get me out of here. Shota-sama, get me out of here! I felt terrible every time I heard her distressed cries, but there's nothing I can do. Regardless of what I say to her, my response inevitably worsens her condition. Reminding myself to report this to Dr. Furuhara, her attending physician, I walk past her. Finally, I arrive at Uneo-san's room. I greet the other staff members, then turn to face my patient. He is shouting and slamming his fists against the walls. His gown hangs sloppily off his frame, and the peeling skin of his back is exposed. Uneo-san, what's the matter? You're frightening everyone with your shouting. When he hears my voice, he turns and slaps a hand to his nearly bald head. Oh, Chigusa-kun! Finally, you've arrived! Talking to these slaves is no use at all! The other staff members scowl upon hearing the word slaves. He has been like this for some time now, but we haven't been able to make any progress. No matter what we say, he turns and starts shouting about how he will not listen to slaves. Tamura, a veteran nurse, speaks in a low voice, her brow deeply knitted. And yet he answers you immediately, doctor, which means he's toying with us. Unbelievable. Nurse Tamura's lips are pursed in disapproval. She's been Uneo-san's attending nurse for a long while, and her demeanor has never once changed. That sounds troublesome indeed. How was he during breakfast? The same as always. Ate every bit of it. I see. He seemed fine when I did my rounds last night, and I was informed that he slept soundly. Something must have happened after breakfast to set him off. I take it he won't be able to return to ward for time being. Nurse Tamura sighs. Okay, we have to pause because I have to blow my nose. I got boogers in there. Okay, I'm back. Completely deboogered. Among staff, the nuance of the ward is slightly different than normal. What she is referring to is the area in which patients live their regular lives. as opposed to the isolation unit. In Uneo-san's case, that would be the male ward of the chronic care facility located on the first floor of the private hospital. The isolation units and quarantine stations are only designed to be temporary facilities and are not considered a part of the hospital itself. The nursing staff also have a regular ward they're assigned to. For Nurse Tamura, it's not only the first floor male ward of the private hospital, but the second floor female ward as well. Sudden resignations have been on the rise, leaving the second floor short-staffed. As Nurse Tamura was assigned to the female ward in the past, she works there once a week to help fill in. It's not an ideal situation, and we would all like to solve it as quickly as possible. Unfortunately, the fact is that the Aerodama ward receives few applicants. Uneo-san, you seem to have calmed down. Were you hearing or seeing things? This is... Uneo-san interrupts me before I finish. Chigusa-kun, answer me honestly. I want the truth. He glares at me with bloodshot eyes. Do you see the carriage outside? Is it the carriage that brought me... Oh, it is the carriage that brought me here from my country. It should be adorned with blue tassels, the mark of the emperor. No, I see no such carriage. Do not lie to me! Uneo-san punctuates his snarl by slamming a fist against the wall, leaving behind a faint bloody stain. His ugly side is showing now. I cannot send him back to the hospital like this. I thought we might be able to resolve this quickly since he's been so calm recently. So I'm disappointed to see that it's not the case. You can shout all you want, but all you'll get for it is an injured hand. My words have little effect. Aerodama dulls one's pain receptors, so Uneo-san would barely notice even if he tore the skin or broke his bones. Actually, it's likely he's broken them already. I do not see any way out of this other than tranquilization. Chigusa-kun, these words are from your emperor himself. Heed them well. As a citizen of this nation, you are bound to obey. He grinds his teeth in anger. You have captured the assassins who sought to take my life, have you not? Then there is no need to keep me in this prison any longer. The penalty for defying the emperor is death. Chigusa-kun, I know you are young and ignorant of proper etiquette, but a noble man will not tolerate such insolence from a commoner. Calling the nurses his slaves, calling me a commoner. I suppose that, in a way, power dynamic isn't too far off. Brave to say that in front of an actual nobleman. From behind me, I hear the nurse start to whisper. I'm not lying to you. I really don't see a carriage. If I did, I swear I would tell you right away. Will you trust me? He doesn't seem convinced, but he stops shouting, regains his composure, and looks me in the eye. Dr. Chigusa. I turn at the sound of my name. Oh, this is him. Dr. Chigusa. I turn at the sound of my name to see Nurse Matsuki, who has retrieved the medicine I asked for. I nod silently in response, then turn back to Uneo-san. Uneo-san, it sounds like you're frustrated. I understand how hard that must be. Nurse Matsuki has brought some medicine that will help you calm down. I think you should try it. He makes no response, but just continues to glower at me in silence. Should I go in? Nurse Matsuki whispers into my ear. I shake my head. He is an experienced nurse and takes his work seriously when it comes to dealing with patients. However, his manner leaves much to be desired. If I were to let him handle the situation, he would likely struggle to smooth it over with words and end up having to physically restrain Uneo-san. I would rather avoid that. There is no denying that brute force is necessary in the Aerodama ward at times, but it should never be the first resort. Too many problems are thoughtlessly solved by violence. I will go in alone. Matsuki-san, could you prepare the injection and wait out here? That would be dangerous. This is no normal patient. He stabbed a staff member once. Nurse Matsuki keeps his voice to a whisper as he says this. I can tell he does not fully trust my methods, but I'm not acting rashly. I'd appreciate if you did not underestimate me. I'm well aware of my own patient's history. As many times as I have asked Uneo-san, he has never given me the reason he stabbed someone. He is a sensitive soul, with no small amount of dignity. Being forced to listen to those he does not trust has made him suspicious of everyone. When I first became his attending physician, he was more out of control than now. I've worked hard to build a foundation of mutual trust between us, and I've finally reached a point where I'm able to convince him to accept the treatments I give him. I do not want to ruin that now.
いや、そりゃ把握はしてい
Well,
るでしょうが。
that much I know, of course. I'm only stating you should take extra caution.
そういう物々しい態度が彼の不信感を
That
さらに煽る
overcautiousness only exacerbates his mistrust of you.
僕の
Don't
言う
worry.
ことを聞いてほしい
I'll be fine. Trust me. I turn back to the patient.
うねおさん
Uneo-san,
こんな
it's a
折が
bit
あったら
difficult to talk with
ちょっ
these
と
bars in
お
our
互い
way,
話し
don't
づ
you
らい
think?
ね
How about I come in so we
今から
can have a
中に
proper
入るよ
conversation? Still no response. But I know he's heard me. He studies me, his expression unchanging, his gaze unwavering. Many believe that erythema patients lose their ability to empathize with others. That is a lie. Some do, yes, but there are also many who are highly sensitive to their surroundings despite appearances to the contrary. Uneo-san is a living example of this. Just in case things do turn violent, I take off my glasses and necktie and put them in my pocket. Oneo-san is sitting on the floor, so once Nurse Tamura has undone the padlock, I lower myself to his eye level. Slowly, and still crouched, I enter the room. The characteristic smell of an erythema patient's rotting flesh assails me as I enter.
いや
Hello there.
やっぱり
This
今
has
日
been
は
a
落
tough
ち着かない
day,
日
hasn't
みたい
it?
だね
I observe Oneo-san closely to start our conversation. His face is still set in a glare, but he makes no move to shout at me or stop me from coming in. We're alone in his room, face to face with one another. This is important. If we had all come running in at once, it would intimidate the patient. There's no telling what he would have done, but it would surely not end well. Nearly every instance of a patient being violent is a result of their fear or confusion. It is rare that one lashes out at a staff member out of malicious intent. Let us take this as a customer service lesson. If you are out there working in the world, 98% of customers yelling at you is because they are scared or confused, or they've created an expected world and things are not going according to those expectations and they are lashing out. If you are working a customer service job, it is important to do these 3 things. 1, listen to your guest and repeat back what they say to you. That way you're showing them that you hear them and care. Number 2, don't make up excuses or give them reasons for why the things are happening the way they are. The people do not care. The people do not care why. The people do not care whose fault it is. The people care that something has gone wrong. And 3, ask them how they would ideally fix the problem or offer a solution if they can't think of one. The end. This has been your customer service lesson, because I often think that women at Kohl's act the same way as confused people in hospitals. The end. This, of course, does not apply to cases in which there's a clear cause, such as the patient being abused by the staff or patients who are violent by nature, but the likelihood of an unprovoked attack can be greatly reduced by simply establishing trust. The same is true for all humans, whether they have erythema or not. Each patient has a different personality and different symptoms, making for a different situation each time. The only standard part of the procedure is to keep a close eye on the patient and respond accordingly. As expected, when I draw closer to Oneo-san, I can see that he's afraid.
うねおさん
Oneo-san,
あのね
there's no cause for worry or
ここは
panic.
病院なんだか
This
ら
is a hospital and we're here to
何も
help
心
you.
配したり焦
We
った
aren't
りす
just
ることは
watching
ないん
you.
だよ
We're trying to find the best
こ
way
こ
to
に
let you
僕の
rest.
職員が集まってい
Look
る
at
の
all
はね
these people.
あなたを
Every
見
one
物
of
に
them
来ている
cares
わけで
about
も
you.
何でもなくて
Isn't that nice?
ただ
You're in the best of
うねおさんの
hands,
気
so
持ちを
please
休ませるには
trust
どう
me
したらいいのか
and
な
listen to what I
心
say.
配している
I half expect him to refuse, but he says nothing, and instead softens his glare. Though I'm not sure how deeply my words are sinking in, he seems to be willing to listen.
ね
Say,
え注射を
would
させ
it
て
be
くれない
alright
か
for me to give you an
この
injection?
病院の患者さんは
Many of the
薬の
patients
こと
here
を
do
信
not
用してい
trust
な
our
い人も多いけ
medication.
ど
But you aren't like them,
Uneo-san wa
are
sou
you,
janai.
Oneo-san? If you can
Chikutto
handle a
suru no
tiny
da
prick of
tamasseba,
pain, I think you'll feel a lot
Uneo-san
better.
wo raku ni shite
You
kureru
can
to
trust
omouんだよ.
me. I've never lied to you
Boku wo
before.
shinjite okure yo.
Have I? A nod. Barely noticeable, but a nod nonetheless. I breathe an internal sigh of relief.
じゃあ、お尻に注射す
The
るから
injection must go in your rear, so please climb into
壁
bed
の
and
方を
face
見
the
て
wall.
横に
He does not move right away. He does not even quiver. He just keeps staring at me. Perhaps what I said did not get through to him after all. Thinking I should try again, I make to move slowly in his direction. But just then, Uneo-san rises to his feet and lays himself down on the bed exactly as I asked.
ちょっと
I'm going to put my hands on you now. I stand up and seat myself again directly next to him. Leaning against his back, I use my weight to hold him down. His body feels tepid against mine, erythema patients of low body temperature, one of the reasons they are thought of as living corpses. In this position, even if he suddenly becomes violent, he'll not have full range of his motion. At the same time, I take care not to put too much pressure on him so he doesn't feel trapped and panic. Now all I need to do is roll down his trousers and deliver the injection to his gluteal muscle. I signal to the nurses waiting outside. Nurse Tamura nods, but Nurse Matsuki wears a dissatisfied look on his face. Thoroughly exhausted, I could not resist the lure of the bed in the night duty room. I only meant to take a light nap for an hour or so, but my room has grown unexpectedly dark when I awake. A glance at my pocket watch lying on the table tells me it's 4:30 p.m. The days being short at this time of year, the sun will be setting soon. I hurriedly get ready to leave and step out of the room to see Nurse Tamura at my door. Ah, you're awake. I had just come to call you.
またうねおさんに何か
Is it Uneo-san again? No, nothing of the sort. Dr. Katori said he would like to see you.
香取先生
Dr. Katori? What for? I'm not sure of the reason, but he is in the lecture hall now. I know you must be ready to go home, but would you be able to meet him first?
いや
Yes, of course. Thank you. I start to take my leave when... Oh, one more thing, Doctor. Nurse Tamura calls out to me again. Thank you for your help this morning. Your expertise surpasses that of most others your age. You're always able to make your patients listen to you no matter who it is. What's your secret? She smiles
言う
sweetly.
ことを聞かせる
Not
とい
so
う
much that I make them listen. Something about her choice of words ruffles my feathers.
ただ会話
I
をしてい
simply
るだけで
treat them as I would any other
そもそも
conversation
僕
partner,
らは患者にと
We're
って
not
悪い
here
こ
to
とをし
hurt our
ようとしてるわけ
patients,
じゃないんだから
and they should be able to
それ
understand
を
that
相
from
手
the
に
way
合
we
わせた
speak
言い
to
方
them.
をして
This is
ちゃ
just
んと
my
理解しても
opinion,
らえばいいん
but
だ
it
よ
would be a mistake to think of them as dangerous beasts and ourselves their tamers.
そんな風に
We may need to
まるで
re-examine our
猛
own
獣使いのよう
perspectives
に
somewhat.
彼らを
We're all
操縦しよう
humans
と
here,
考
so
え
we
てい
need
る
to
の
do
が
so
そも
all
そ
we
も
need to
間
do
違い
is
なんだ
treat them as such. Okay, so
少
my
し
guess at
認
where this
識を
story
改
is
めなくちゃ
going
いけ
so
ないんじゃ
far
ないかな
is
人間同士
that the
当たり前の
professor
ことを
dude
しているだけなん
that
だ
was giving the lecture is like evil, and he's running like covert experimentations and like weird shit behind the scenes, because like we already said that we distrust them right at the beginning, and then the fact that all of the staff members, not just one or two, it's like every staff member that we've encountered so far hasn't handled the patients like they're actually human. So like the person chasing after the naked person was yelling at them and then threatening to put them in isolation as a punishment, treating them like a dog or whatever. This girl that we're talking to right here says, make them listen to you. And then the dude that bring us the medication was like, oh, careful, he's dangerous. We're gonna have to use force against him right away. So I'm interested to see where it goes, because stories often fall into good guy, bad guy dichotomy. And I think thus far, if they're going the good guy, bad guy way, I think that the ill-informed employed people at this hospital are going to fuck everything up. Anyway, yeah. Oh, that's sarcastic. Yeah. Nurse Tamara rolls her eyes. We're doing our best even if we aren't as good at it as you are. None of us see our patients as animals, but if we were all as idealistic as you, we wouldn't be able to run this hospital. If only you extended the kindness you show to your patients to your colleagues, you'd be the most popular doctor here. Oh shit. Wait! Oh fuck! Actually, wait! I was. Oh, wait. Okay. I forgot about biased narrator. He's. Yeah, her calling him out. Wait a second. Maybe he is a biased narrator. Okay. Because, yeah, if you think about it that way, every comment he's made about his colleagues has been kind of in an asshole regard. He does think he's holier than thou. With a sigh, she turns on her heels and walks away. I did not mean to antagonize her, but she's right. I'm much better at communicating with my patients than with the other staff members. Scratching my head, I carry on toward the lecture hall. I'm unsure what Dr. Katori wants with me. Dr. Shuhei Katori is known throughout Japan as the authority on aerodama. Having studied in the West developed nations, he brought back the latest information and techniques to Japan. He has several prestigious titles, all of them exceedingly long. Vice President of the National Society of Medical Sciences, Director of Tokyo Kagamachi Hospital, and Professor of Aerodama Studies at Imperial University. Once my mentor in my university days, he is now my boss. Okay, so he was his mentor. Why has he called for me? There's nothing I can think of. Could it be about Uneo-san? Or something regarding Osan? Or wait, is he going to ask me to start holding classes of my own? He did mention that once before. I can't think of anything I'd like to discuss less. With that on my mind, I open the lecture hall doors. My glasses fog up as I pass from the cold outdoors to the warm stove-heated room. I use my scarf to wipe my lenses, then put them back on. The doctor's standing over the podium, writing something. The moment I walk in, he looks up and the corners of his mouth lift into a smile. Ah, you came. Apologies, I'm sure you're tired. Actually, I was able to get some rest just now. Oh, good. Well then, please take a seat. I do as he says and take a seat in the front row. How about something warm to drink? I shake my head at Dr. Katori, who is still standing at the podium. No, thank you. What is it you wanted to speak to me about? You mustn't be so impatient. I've gotten my hands on some fine beans, you know. Here, try some. The doctor is not one to take no for an answer. He comes down from the podium and picks up the kettle sitting atop the stove. The small kettle has a thin spout, specially made for brewing coffee. Dr. Katori developed a taste for it while abroad, and is very particular about the tools and methods used to brew it. You came to my class this morning after working overnight, then handled the situation with Uneo-san, yes? I dare say you pushed yourself a bit too far. You're not the only doctor at the hospital. There's no shame in delegating some of your responsibilities to others. He gently pours hot water over the dark brown powder in the dripper. But Uneo-san is my patient. If I'm at the hospital, I should... Your heart is in the right place, but you're overworking yourself. The grounds billow up as they're dampened. The doctor stops pouring momentarily. He pulls out his pocket watch to count the time. It would be one thing if this were an occasional occurrence, but this is how you always operate. You have your patients, yes, but you are not the only one who can care for them. At this rate, you'll never go home, and end up in the hospital yourself for overexertion. Then you won't be able to see any patients at all. I make sure not to cross that line. I know my limits. Is that why he asked to see me? To lecture me about my work habits? Do you? Dr. Katori sighs. I'm glad that you are dedicated to your work, but you are overprotective of your patients. With all due respect, I know I should bite my tongue, but my temper is flaring. The fatigue must be getting the better of me. I see nothing wrong with what I'm doing. Medicine is a benevolent art, is it not? What good is a doctor who does not care for his patients? I do not disagree with that. What I disagree with is your interpretation of it. You will burn yourself out at this rate. The doctor returns to his coffee, pouring water over the grounds in a steady stream. A rich aroma wafts into the air. We still don't know how this disease is spread. Is it, or did they say that? Is it genetic? What do you mean? Caring for your patients is essential, of course, but getting involved with them is not. He looks straight into my eyes. Yeah, they haven't said how it spreads yet. Okay, that makes me nervous. That makes me nervous. Um, getting involved with them? Dr. Katori nods before continuing. Most erythema patients have dark, tragic pasts. Learning about them leads to sympathizing with them, which in turn leads to wanting to help them. But their hearts are built like labyrinths. Once you've made your way in, there's no coming back. He speaks in a grave tone. I can't tell if this is part of his usual theatrics or if he's truly being sincere. You cannot see your patients as puzzles that can be solved and understood. Our duty is to help as many patients as we can, which we do by keeping a level head and making rational decisions. It is imperative that we maintain a certain amount of distance from them. We must do what we can to help, but not at the cost of our own health and safety. Otherwise, we will become the victims ourselves. He delivers his warning slowly and deliberately.
でも先生
But Dr. Katori, I don't want to hear it. You must think as a doctor first. Only if it were someone truly irreplaceable to you could such human behavior be forgiven. A lover, perhaps, or a family member. The word family sends a jolt up my spine. I can only assume the doctor's choice of words was intentional. In any other circumstance, I expect you to conduct yourself as a doctor. With that, he lifts the dripper off of the pot, then fills 2 mugs with black liquid. Though I am confident I would be able to keep my composure even if I were caring for someone close to me. He sets one of the cups in front of me. But enough about that. I did not call you here today to scold you. There are more important matters we have to discuss. Dr. Katori puts his nose over his mug. He savors the smell, then lifts it to his mouth. His red lips curl into a faint smile as he takes a sip. Not bad. A single whiff. A single sip is all it takes to rejuvenate my senses. You know, nutrition is not all we consider when preparing the patient's meals. It is the most important factor, of course, but flavor is crucial as well. It is directly tied to one's happiness. It would not be a bad idea to taste the food we serve our patients every once in a while. To put yourself in their shoes. He flashes me a smile, whether it means he's joking or not, I cannot tell, before his expression turns serious. Jigasa-kun, I know you are well aware, but the study of erythema in Japan trails far behind that of other countries. Though we are the only two in the lecture room, Dr. Katori begins to orate as though it were full. We are behind the times in every category. Our doctors' expertise, our medical facilities, the way patients are treated by society, legal recognition of erythema, all of it. As a result, the afflicted are not merely unfortunate for having this terrifying disease that devours flesh and spirit both, but also unfortunate for being born in a land that refuses to help them. It is our responsibility to work toward giving them a brighter existence, even if only by so much. Having heard this speech many times before, I already know where he's going. Spending time in the hospital face to face with the patients is valuable work, but it's not the best use of this country's top doctors. No, our mission should be to improve the status quo for our patients. That is, to push our nation's institutions forward. You would agree with that, would you not? He stares at me as though peering into my soul.
はい
Yes. I nod as it finally dawns on me why he called me here. You know what it is I have endeavored to accomplish over the years. You have been working at the hospital as a doctor, but now I would like you to help me with my work. He smiles. I am asking you to participate in my field studies. Though his words do not take me by surprise, I find myself unable to respond. I simply stare at him blankly. The doctor looks back at me, saying nothing more, only grinning from ear to ear. Field studies. Oh, that's me. Oh, no, that's my dad? Field studies. What type of work will that involve? Father slices through the steak sitting on his plate before him as he asks. Oh, the chef made that. It's his favorite dish. He cuts himself a large chunk of rare meat and shoves it into his mouth. I'm not as partial to it as he is. Actually, I don't like Western food in general. At Father's behest, a chef in our family is always making heavy European-style dishes. But I prefer Japanese dishes with a shoyu or miso base.
月に2、3度
Traveling to the
地方に行って
countryside 2 or 3 times a
檻に入れら
month
れ
and
ている
studying
患者の状
patients
況
who
を
have been
調
put
査するん
into
ですよ
confinement. I bite down on a thin slice of beef. Mother, on the other hand, has not touched her steak, eating only her vegetables. It's not that she shares my dislike for Western food. Steak is one of her favorite meals, too. But her appetite comes and goes each day. It seems she doesn't have one today.
そうか。
I see. Father nods and reaches for his drink. His taste for alcohol do not follow his taste for food. He pairs his dinner with satsuma sochu on a nightly basis. The cup from which he drank his pale yellow potato sake. Sorry. His pale yellow potato sake has an intricate design etched into the glass. Apparently, it's a gift he received from someone. My father, Masakatsu Chigusa, retired from the... Oh no. Oh no. Chigusa. That's the name of the man in isolation. Is that his dad? My father, Masakatsu Chigusa, retired from the Navy as Vice Admiral and now serves as a member of the House of Peers. He also runs a company called Chigusa Matches. Most of the matches they manufacture are for export, and that glass was sent to him by one of his associates overseas. The boys in our family are expected to either go into the military or politics, and both of my brothers did just that. They went from the military academy straight into the army, and no longer live at home. To be a doctor, not to mention a doctor in a field so unusual as aerodema, has resulted in the Chigusa family's youngest child, me, being seen as an eccentric, if not a lunatic. Mother seems a bit uncomfortable.
それは危ないこ
But
とは
won't
な
that
い
be
の
dangerous? If these patients are in confinement, does that not mean they're out of control? Even now she worries. But she's more concerned about my safety working with erythema patients than my choice in occupation, due to the public's prejudice against their disease. Any issues that arise involving the afflicted are greatly exaggerated in the news, so it's understandable that she would feel that way.
危ないことなんか
It won't be dangerous
何
at
もない
all.
ですよ
I'm an expert, you know?
Oh.
I go on to explain the work I'll be doing in more detail. The Erythema Care Act is a relatively recently enacted law. Prior to its existence, there was a practice in Japan known as kanyu. Erythema patients who were deemed unfit to live in society were not put into quarantine facility, but rather kept in storehouses or even cages and left with their families. This treatment was not reserved for the sick. It was also used for family members deemed troublesome. A prodigal son whose philandering had gone out of hand, or a wife whose kleptomania could not be curtailed. My sickness is catching up with me. The decision whether or not to put someone into kanyu lay with another family member, such as the head of the household. They did not need so much as a doctor's opinion on the matter, nor approval from the authorities. That was not how the system was designed. So naturally, the system was abused. People imprisoned their own family at whim. One could baselessly accuse their elder brother of debauchery and claim the inheritance for themselves. As a result, many who did not have erythema were locked away. Oh, shit! After this cruel practice grew widespread, new laws were put into place to prevent people from indiscriminately being put into kanyu based on their family's judgment alone. That is how the Erythema Care Act was born. It required people to follow certain procedure before they could put a relative into confinement. They used to do that with women a lot, the calling women crazy and then locking them up. First, someone exhibiting problematic behavior would need to be examined by a doctor. If the doctor determined that the patient truly had erythema, they would issue a certificate which the family would then submit to the local government. After having their application approved, the family could construct a quarantine facility in or near their home. When the time came to move the patient in, the police would need to inspect the structure to ensure that it was built in accordance with provisions stipulated by law. Only by following this protocol to the letter could a patient be confined. This new model of kanyu was called home care. It led to an increased standard of living for erythema patients, but one glaring problem remained. The Japanese word for care, kango, is an amalgam of kankin and hogo, which mean confinement and protection, respectively. It was chosen to signify this new system was designed for the protection of erythema patients, but the reality of it was far less kind. The home care system was announced by the Home Ministry. Being under police jurisdiction, it was developed according to police sensibilities. Erythema patients were thus portrayed as an unwanted presence that disrupted the social order, and the laws functioned as public safety measures. Its medical objectives fell by the wayside. Before patients' family had the right to choose to put them in confinement, this meant that they could choose not to do so. But once the new laws were passed, patients who were seen as nuisances began to be forced into confinement. There was nothing requiring this to be done in their family home. They simply had to be put away somewhere. However, as the countryside had few suitable facilities at the time, patients ultimately had to be put into home care. This meant that the burden of building a legally approved quarantine facility generally fell onto their families. Most families lacked the land and money to build a proper storehouse, or even the glorified cage known as a home cell. Even if they managed it, many struggled to continue caring for the afflicted family member after they were confined. Ultimately, these circumstances caused swaths of families across the country to fall into ruin. Dr. Katori has made it his mission to visit these impoverished families around the country, survey their situations, and make reports to the government. His goal is to point out the current system's flaws and convince the government to develop a new system with a proper medical foundation. These laws were enacted while Dr. Katori was studying overseas, and he feels that these things would have been different if he had been here. So that's what I'll be doing, working as his assistant to help him carry out these field studies. I bring my explanation to close. Sounds like important work, doing something to make the world a better place. Father says this as though to convince Mother, yet still she looks disheartened. Yes, it's necessary work. We have a serious lack of erythema hospitals, so the doctor plans to build new, modern, reliable facilities all throughout Japan once the new laws are passed. The treatments we have implemented at Kagamachi Hospital will serve as the model for all these new hospitals. I can tell you do not approve, Mother, but this is my work. No, it's not that I don't approve, but if you're going to the countryside, you'll be traveling by train, won't you? Masamitsu, will you be all right? My father answers in my place. Masamitsu is working to help the less fortunate. What more could a parent ask for in a son? We should be proud of him. Father heaps praise onto me, but I doubt it's because he truly believes what he is saying. More likely he's trying to make me feel better about being looked down on as a lowly Hihiru doctor. In the past, medicine was seen as a crude line of work, but those days are long gone. Doctors are highly respected in Western countries, all around the world. Benevolence and freedom are believed to be the most important values. Values that should be guaranteed to everyone as a basic right. Mollified by Father, Mother does not retort. She simply knits her brow and returns to her boiled vegetables. And it's not our place to lecture our son about his work being dangerous. Even if it is, all we can do is believe in him. If we keep worrying about every little thing, we'll only end up shaking his confidence and his work will suffer for it. Besides, if you want to talk about dangerous, how about our sons in the military? I was just about to say that. I was like, wait, you're worried about your son who's like a doctor, but you have sons that are active duty military? What the fuck? But Masamatsu is... Mother's voice trails off. Father continues, his mouth twists in a bitter smile. Well, it's true that he's not as independent as our other boys, but he's every bit as strong-willed. When he decided he wanted to be a doctor, he didn't let what anyone else said stop him. He would simply explain that it was an important, necessary profession and carry on, never wavering a bit. I've always been impressed by that, even now. He talks about me as though I weren't sitting right in front of him. It makes me a bit uncomfortable. I know it's only natural for parents to be overprotective of their children regardless of age, but I'm approaching 30. I can't abide by this level of fuss no matter how much excessive praise they cushion it with. Oh my goodness! I get to hydrate! Black Blue's like, you fucking dying. You read. Hey, you're right. I thirst. Okay. We go back. The only reason I brought up the field studies was to let them know I would be away from home more often. I was not asking to be judged on my worth as a member of society. And I'm not yet sure myself how I feel about this new work. Well, in any case, you have nothing to worry about. Oh, but speaking of Masanobu, didn't he send a letter home recently? What did it say? I forced a subject change to put an end to the awkwardness. Okay. Literally, when he says I'm approaching 30, like that's all the part of me dies inside, literally. Me who just turned 30. Yeah, I'm still young. I'm still just a goofy person hanging out on my Twitch, play video game. Anyway, thank you all for joining the stream tonight. I'm sick, so we're doing only a short stream so that I don't kill myself and then be sick, make myself be sick longer. This story is so freaking cool. I'm having an absolute blast with Hira Hira Hihiru, and I can't wait to see where the story goes. I feel like I'm gonna have a long ways ahead of me. Yeah, the Discord voted that we're doing different games every day, so this will be my Tuesday game for the foreseeable next year, depending on how long the game is. If it's anything like 100 line, yeah, about a year. So yeah, thank you all for watching. Join me on Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern. We will be streaming, hopefully Soulmates, but if I get nervous about playing with strangers online, strangers as in you guys, I might switch to a different game. Oh, there's a new game that I want to play. Okay, yeah, I'll update you on what I'm playing Thursday. Thursday, 9 p.m. I'll be here, and then on Tuesday of next week we'll be playing more of this if you want to join for this game again. Anyway, thank you all for watching. Goodbye!